What is up, guys? Thank you for sticking through that commercial break. I do want to remind everyone that tickets for Bitcoin Amsterdam are on sale right now. Use promo code BMLive, get 10% off of those tickets. Come join the biggest party, the biggest Bitcoin party in all of Europe, happening in October 12th to 14th. P, can you please introduce our guest today?
Absolutely. We have two titans of the Bitcoin and Lightning privacy space. We've got Ben Carman, who is, man, you've done so much shit. You were a speaker at Bitcoin 22, the least of your accomplishments. You have been focused on coinjoins and systems that work to improve Bitcoin privacy. You've worked on DLCs, you were at SuredBits, and now you're at the Bitcoin company. Welcome to the show. We also have Tony Giorgio, who was also a speaker at Bitcoin 2022. You are also a Bitcoin and Lightning privacy advocate. You are a developer and a researcher on both of those systems. You've worked at a ton of different startups over the last 5 years. You focused on decentralized identities, exchange integrations, as I said, privacy research, and you are currently working on a new, really novel Lightning wallet called PLN. We're excited to have both of you. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
What's up, guys? Can you hear me all right this time?
You sound clear as a bell.
Great. Yeah, sorry about all the mishaps last time.
No, it's all right. I'm just excited we're able to figure it out.
You got the better Ben, so it's all right.
Oh, God. I think we should dive just straight into the most important question. Who is the best Ben on the Council of Bens? And before you answer that, can you iterate on who is on the Council of Bens?
The Council of Bens, we're like, the largest group of single named men in Bitcoin. I think our council, I can look, it's like over 20 people now. Yeah, we have 22.
Actually?
Yeah, we have 22 people on the council. So we're a small group, and but all Bens are fungible though. So there's no leader, there is no best Ben or worst Ben. We're all the same. We're all just Ben.
Said like the best Ben.
Yeah, what is it, the best king is the one who's like, I don't want to be a king.
Hey man, Marcus Aurelius didn't want to be king.
I rest my case.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the world today. We were just talking about, actually, before I do that, would you guys add anything to the introduction that I gave both of you? What did I miss? What do we need to make sure that people know before we proceed?
I think you need to learn how to spell Tony Giorgio's name. You misspelled it in the tweet as well as in the YouTube description.
You misspelled it in like two different ways too.
Chris, Chris,
you misspell it like Marty Ben mispronounces it.
Chris
So
Producer Chris.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Apologizing in the chat. No worries.
I also, in the calendar invite, misspelled your name, Ben, which I thought was really funny because, of course, I know how to spell your name. It's just Carman.
No, it's Ben the Fraud Man now, actually. So
yeah, it's committing too much fraud.
Too much fraud in the game of chess.
Oh shit!
Oh,
it wasn't even fraud. I just showed them a screenshot of my game, and they said I photoshopped it.
I mean, you did. But you told me on the side that you did Photoshop that image.
Well, that was a secret, so.
There are no secrets here. Bitcoin is for enemies. Hashtag not your keys, not your coin. As I said, there's a lot going on in the world. There's so much we could talk about. I want to focus the majority of our conversation, as the title would suggest, on privacy in the Bitcoin space and privacy in the Lightning space specifically. Before we dive into we get on that rabbit hole too significantly, I want to get your thoughts, if you have any, on what is going on with this Tornado Cash situation. We were just talking about it in news and notes. What do you guys think?
Ben, you're probably more plugged in than I am on this.
I thought it was pretty cool. Like when I saw it, it's like, that's badass. Like if you can get sanctioned by the US Treasury, like you're probably doing something right. At least on a privacy side. If you're a murderer, like fuck you. But if you're just giving people privacy and to get sanctioned, that's pretty cool. So I think like, like Tornado Cash is a pretty good privacy tool. It basically it's kind of like a centralized mixer, but it operates on as a ETH smart contract. So there's like, ETH is centralized, but if you assume it's not, then it's a decentralized smart like mixer. So I guess like, so it was like kind of cool. And then like seeing like GitHub and everything like shut down accounts. So it was like, that was like kind of scary, like kind of showing the vulnerabilities of the space there where, we're all kind of trusting these like few, like, that's just Microsoft and, so, but yeah, I don't know. It's like kind of scary to see that like, the US is kind of trying to clamp down now on privacy. So maybe that's first because that's an easy one for them to just say like, we sanction this, but next they could do like, they could say like all coinjoins are sanctioned now or anything like that. So it's something to be wary of, and hopefully we can, work on different tech to improve that.
I think on that note too, like there's the aspect of the centralization aspect of it too. Like Ben is right. Like they're probably doing something right on the privacy side if they're actually getting sanctioned, but they're probably really doing something wrong on the centralization front too, which is all I think all the stable coins getting locked up that were associated with it, the smart contract addresses being put on a list. All the and then the fact that like Ethereum isn't really decentralized anyways, like all of these things, and there's like no privacy on Ethereum. Like everyone like boasts their single like pub key, their single address, and it's like, hey, look how many tokens I have, and look at all these airdrops and everything else. Like Ethereum's a terrible privacy tool in general. So I think all these things combined, like yeah, there's some privacy you can get with Tornado Cash, and I haven't looked into the details of it because it's on Ethereum, and I don't look at that crap. But just from the centralization point, I mean, you could, in theory, like I don't know if you wouldn't be able to like put certain, like the code aspect is interesting. Like the code, the address, the smart contracts are like what is sanctioned, right? So like, but that's like hosted code somewhere. Like it's the equivalent of like someone has like a Tor address, like the Silk Road, and that gets like put on a sanction list or like gets shut down or they as a target. Like hey everyone, I know it's on Tor, it's a different story, but like imagine if it was just like www like tornadocash.com, like that
Or
would
like one of those
last
websites
very
that gave us movies, like 123movies.com.
right. And they can hide as long as they can, like and Pirate Bay is like still up and running, which is kind of, if you ever listen to Darknet Diaries, like there's a really good like the founder joined for one of the episodes and talked about the entire like process of Pirate Bay and how they went about that. But yeah, it's one of those things, like you can imagine a scenario where like a certain coin join coordinator is actually like somewhat sanctioned in a way, like they're put their Tor address is like targeted, like hey everyone, if anyone is associated with this, then you're somewhat of a bad guy. I mean, actually enforcing is a whole different story, but they can at least make the case of like, hey, this Tor address is a bad address. Like, if you're interacting with this and we find it out, then then you're also like disobeying sanctions. So yeah, it's all these centralization aspects. You're opening yourselves up for targeting in this way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty interesting and concerning, as you guys have pointed out. I wonder, like, what was the impetus for this specific sanction? What was the thing that kicked off this specific process?
If I were to guess, there's probably North Koreans using it, and they found that out, and they're. I don't know if they. I didn't read the reports. I wasn't not on Twitter, so I don't see what people are chatting about. But like that's my guess. It's like I don't think it's they're just trying to like tackle the there's people in Ethereum trying to hide for one reason or another. I think it's actually probably a serious thing. I think it's actually like nation states using it probably. And because North Koreans, they are actually actively trying to they still funds all the time in the crypto space, and they are always trying to look at ways to like launder and ways to like push stuff funds, actually sell the stuff that they have. So I would actually think there's probably some serious merit behind it, to be honest. It's just the precedent about putting code like a smart contract online as a sanctioned person or a sanctioned individual or a sanctioned thing. I think that precedent has never been set before.
Yeah, I guess what immediately comes to mind is like, what is stopping them from doing this with Bitcoin-based, coin joining solutions, and what is what's the threshold above which that will become a potential attack vector? I don't think there's an answer, but
it's like a little weird because like with like this, there's like like this Tornado Cash is like an ETH address that like so like when you make a payment or withdrawal from it to like do the like their version of the coin join, it's like very obvious you're like sending to this address and then sending out in a different one. So like you can definitely sell like this person used Tornado Cash, which is in Bitcoin, there's no just like you sent to this address kind of thing. It's like, I did this coin join. You see a transaction with like 50 inputs and outputs, so it's obviously doing a coin join, but there's no like they can, like I mean they couldn't just ban like no transactions with over 50 outputs or something. So then we just do coin joins with 49 outputs, and so it's not really something like that's like as easily sanctionable in Bitcoin, which is nice. But they could still just be like coin joins illegal or something. And luckily, sadly, the government, they just make up rules and it's impossible to enforce. But then, you still go to jail and you have to go wait 5 years until your day in court to actually get free. So, we can argue all we want. We still have to like, still like get around those rules and stuff.
And I think the tools aspect of it as well, like they could censor or like say, okay, this coordinator is quote unquote good or bad, but the idea that they can actually like the actual open source tools themselves, like this Tornado Cash thing, and again, I haven't looked at it deeply, but like it probably doesn't work if it wasn't just like published code on the Ethereum smart contract, right? But like as we start using like more open source tools, like that's a little bit of a different story. Like in general, they don't need to be hosted somewhere. It's not like code on the internet. Ideally, it's just code that's locally on your computer. And then, I know like Join Market's a little, I think it's a little bit more distributed or decentralized where there's not like a central coordinator, and there's other things you can do in the decentralized coordinator space, like actual real decentralization, not Ethereum. So I think like with better tools and more like open source client side tools, I think I don't think you can just sanction unhosted code. I know the word unhosted is kind of a unhosted wallet is kind of a debate of that topic, but it literally is just like code on your computer. Like how do you? It's like the sanctions on cryptography, like how actually saying like you can't export these like cryptography. Specific cryptography implementations, but like people would put it on a shirt and it would just be code and they would hop on an airplane and go across seas. Like how do you actually enforce that? How do you actually stop that if it's literally just code? There's a difference between it being hosted and it being on your machine, but if it's literally just like code on your machine, like there's nothing you can really do to stop that.
What happens in a scenario where it's found that, to your point, Tony, like they can't stop code? There's nothing, like no government entity can actually stop the running of code from all walks of life. So over time, as more of these examples start to pop up, we were just discussing earlier how Iran apparently made $10 million in a digital payment of some sort of cryptocurrency. We're still trying to figure out which cryptocurrency that was, due in large part because they've been under sanctions for 50 plus years. Like what happens when more and more people realize like, hey, this just works and there's nothing they can do about it?
I mean, that's been the reality for years, and the government still hasn't realized it. So, I mean, maybe when Nancy Pelosi dies, when we get some new people in office, maybe that'll happen. But still, like, I think this is like a lot of things that just like humans in general haven't realized that, like when you tell people about Bitcoin and they'll be like, oh, the government will stop that. I'm like, no, they literally can't. Like, this is impossible. So, like, just most of humans haven't realized like the power that like computers give us, because the average the human just kind of sees it as like, oh, I have an iPhone and it lets me browse Twitter, but people don't realize like kind of the level of power this can give you, and it emboldens humans and gives them freedom.
So I want to shift us slightly. We've been using the terms, coin join, both within the context of Tornado Cash and also Lightning. Let's take a step back. Can you guys define for the audience what a coin join is and why it's important? And then let's shift over to what a Lightning coin join is and how that works.
And you're the man here. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, basically like a coin join, it's pretty simple. Like, so imagine like me and Tony both want to send a transaction. Instead of me doing a transaction and Tony doing a transaction, we do one transaction together. That's basically the concept. And then you just extrapolate that out to like, instead of like 2 people, you could have like 100 people. And the reasoning is basically like this transaction, if we do them individually, now they look like 2 separate transactions, and like, my address is tied to me, his address is tied to him, so they can see like, oh, this was Ben's transaction, he's sending to the address A. You can see Tony's transaction, he's sending to address B, and it's not the best. So the idea of a coin join is basically just do that in the same transaction, and now they see that me and Tony are in the same transaction, but they don't know who owns the addresses going out. So that's kind of the idea, and then you can extract this out to like 100 people, so it gets extremely hard because it's hard to calculate who's doing it. Like in that 2-person case, it's like 50-50 of which address is whose. There's 100, now it's like 1 in 100. It gets really hard, and this kind of just lets you like give you more and more privacy, and then you can kind of like compound these. So like if you do like multiple coin joins in a row, and then you're like getting exponential increases in your privacy and stuff like that. So that's kind of the idea. And like today it exists mostly in Wasabi and Whirlpool, and then Join Market as well. Those are kind of the traditional ways people use it in Bitcoin. And I don't know, I guess that's all I have to add there.
Tony, would you add anything to that?
No, I think that was pretty good. And then yeah, on the aspect of like coin joining and Lightning and what you can kind of do there, it's a little bit more advanced, and we haven't seen like the exact potential that we can get out of it. But like Carmen's been working on Vortex for a little while now, as like one way to do coin joins. It's basically like collaborative open channel. So it's like you open a Lightning channel, but you also open everyone else piles in too, and they all open Lightning channels to whoever their node is that they're opening, but they all kind of collaborate together on that. So it kind of just looks like one big like coin join transaction, but it's actually like a whole bunch of channel opens happening at the same time. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that more on that, Ben, but that I think that's the gist.
Yeah, that's really good. The only thing I would add is like today, it's okay because like right now, when you open a Lightning channel, it's very obvious on chain that this is like not a normal address. It's like pay to witness script hash, so it looks like something that's not like something I would normally receive to. But with Taproot, everything will look the same. A normal address versus a Lightning channel look the same on chain. So then you could have these coin joins where some people are sending to like making a payment. Some of them are coin joining to themselves to give themselves privacy, and some people are opening a Lightning channel. So you could all have this in a single transaction that looks like very uniform, but it's, all these different use cases are being covered, so it lets you get like a lot more privacy in that regard.
And I believe, Ben, you said that L&D is coming out with that. I think in the next major release, like being able to open Taproot, these Taproot channels.
That's what I was told. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be public, but I guess it is now.
Here, let me do like a super late, censorship beep just to. There we go. It was beeped out. Don't even trip, dog. And the reason
like,
that this is.
If I can go back on that comment too, just to elaborate on why it's important to be doing this, like you brought up like P2WSH transactions, and they kind of look really unique to like a Lightning channel or like a multi-sig in general. And then when you actually spend out of that transaction, you reveal the script. So you reveal some of the uniqueness of it. So like if it's a 2-2 multi-sig, which is Lightning transactions, Lightning opens, they actually are, you can actually kind of estimate of whether or not that was like a Lightning channel or not. And I did some work on probing unannounced channels by just monitoring the on-chain transactions that are P2WSH transactions. So there's like 900,000 P2WSH transactions, and I can actually go through and like probe and try to find all these hidden channels on Lightning. And I think I've gotten up to 100 Bitcoin worth of transactions, or sorry, 100 Bitcoin worth of channel opens. So like when we look at the Lightning Explorer, we can see like, oh, it has this much capacity and this many nodes and stuff like that. But that's just what we publicly see. There's this whole like hidden side of it. You can think of it like an iceberg. There's this whole hidden side of Lightning that you can't actually see very easily. So like some of the work I'm doing right now, you can go to hiddenlightningnetwork.com. to go to the GitHub repo where I'm actually doing this, and some of the results are there. And it's like 100 Bitcoin, I think, so far, like 10,000 channels that I've found that are like actual, they call them private channels, but they're not that private. So you can actually, like, just using on-chain data to, like, the Lightning is almost privacy-wise, it's there's a lot of privacy benefits to Lightning, but then there's all these things that inherits from Bitcoin and Bitcoin's lack of privacy. And that includes, for now, like, P2WSH channel open. So, like, yeah, it'll get better when we can actually get Taproot opens. And then there's some improvements also coming down the pipeline, and some that I've already implemented that kind of help. But yeah, so, Lightning kind of inherits some of Bitcoin's lack of privacy.
And I just want to take a step back for the audience. When we're talking about the Lightning Network is a layer 2 technology on top of Bitcoin's layer 1 technology, right? So you've got this incredibly robust layer 1, which is Bitcoin on-chain transactions. And then the Lightning Network sits on top of that, so to speak. And it is a protocol that allows us to, send Bitcoin payments very, very rapidly, and currently essentially for no fees. And so when we talk about systems that, when somebody's like, oh, you can't buy a coffee with Bitcoin, that's bullshit for other reasons, but you can do it very rapidly and you can settle it very rapidly using the Lightning Network. And, at a topological level, you basically have nodes in the Lightning Network. And, if I have a Lightning node and, Tony has one and Ben has one and Q has one, none of us have to be directly connected to each other in order to be able to send Bitcoin through the Lightning Network to each other. So if I have a channel to Q, Q has a channel to Tony, and Tony has a channel to Ben, I can send payments to Ben simply by basically a payment gets sent to Q, Q then sends that payment to Tony, Tony then sends that payment to Ben, and there we go. And so there are public channels which can be used to route payments throughout the network. And then there's private channels. And what Tony is talking about is figuring out where private channels are based on the transaction type, the signature type, which is the more correct term there, Tony?
Yeah, transaction type.
The transaction type that is specific to the opening or closing of Lightning channels, because you have to make an on-chain transaction when you open that initial Lightning channel, and then that channel gets reused over and over and over again to sort of route these payments back and forth through the Lightning Network.
The cool thing is, like, if you actually know of a private channel, of an unannounced channel that exists, you can route through that too. It's just like there's a lot of private channels, and the main one that I was probing to figure out, who actually has unannounced channels. Async, which Async has Phoenix, they're like LSP, they're Lightning service provider. So they have this wallet that, like, kind of makes it easy for people to, like, onboard to Lightning. And a lot of mobile phones won't, in the typical Lightning node, you would want that to be, like, always online. That way you could not only just route payments, but also you need to occasionally come online to make sure that, the base layer of Bitcoin's okay, right? Because it operates on the second level. But you need to, like, come online every now and then to make sure that your channel partner isn't trying to cheat you. There's some on-chain transaction checking that it has to do. We don't have to dive too much into those details, but you should come online every now and then. But mobile phones, aren't online all the time. So LSPs typically come in to help that, and they will open unannounced channels. So mobile phones will be unannounced channels because they're not online all the time. So if you were to broadcast, oh, this is a public channel, people may try to route through it, and it'd just be a bad experience for routing in general, because, like, that node's going to be down. So, like, as you're sending on Lightning, and as P described it, like, hops from one person to another person. If I was offline at that scenario and P sends it to Q, and Q tries to send it to me to get it to Ben, if I'm offline, then that payment fails. And luckily, the Lightning Network is, like, distributed enough where you can try many different payments. There's, like, 20K nodes or something like that right now. So there's a lot of paths that exist, but with each failed path, it's, like, time that you have to spend trying another path. If a payment gets stuck, that's a shitty experience as well. But I forget what bring that up. Oh, just being offline in general. There's some reasons there.
I just changed the title to the Bitcoin Lightning Network Cures Cancer, which I think is not an It's a true statement, is what I'm trying to say.
Trust the science.
If you got to pay your doctor really fast and to get your
Right.
cancer, you know.
Right. It also saves Christmas. So
Bitcoin fixes everything.
that's right. Specifically the Lightning Network. Interesting. Okay. So why does it become useful, Tony, to probe all these channels? Like, what is that important from the perspective of improving Lightning Network privacy overall? Does it provide economic advantage to people that have that information? What's the impetus for you trying to figure out where these unannounced, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're saying unannounced channel is the same as a private channel, it's just a channel that is not broadcast through the gossip protocols, all right?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that term is used more than private, because when you say something's private and it's not, then it people think they're getting some privacy that they're not actually getting. But going back to what you kind of asked here, there's a few reasons to actually do this. For one, it provides me no benefits doing this. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. I'm not gaining anything from this except maybe a little bit of clout. I'm really just doing it for two reasons. One, to highlight the fact that this is a concern, that these private channels aren't private. And I came out with an article earlier, I guess about a year ago, and someone had asked in the comments, I have no idea where to go to about like learning about privacy on Lightning. I came out with this article. It's abytesjourney.com/lightning-privacy. And I try to like educate as much as I can there. But the gist of it is like, I came out with that post and people are still like, opening private channels and saying that they're private, or like thinking that they're safe, and like, oh wait, there's private in the name. I can just like use any UTXO that I want. And the reality is, that information could be, leaked out. And so I'm actually going through the effort of leaking it out, to raise awareness, and all of it's open source, and I'm publishing all the data, because like Chain Analytics could be doing this right now. And in fact, they've already said that they're doing some sort of Lightning solution. I don't know if anyone's like figured out what Lightning Chain Analytics solution that they've come up with or how they're doing it. I have suspicions, but it's just to raise awareness, really. And then the other thing is like, I could also gather this analytics too and publish them, and so we can actually get a better understanding of how many Lightning channels do actually exist. There's some analytics that can be gathered here, just to kind of like, everyone just hand waves, oh, we've had this many Bitcoin locked up on Lightning, and then we say, oh, but we can't see private channels. And it's like, well, that's true, but this could kind of help us figure out a little bit more of that, what's under the tip of the iceberg.
Got it.
I think something to highlight too is this is like something that's like now like kind of fixed, where because the way he's doing is finding like all these outputs in Bitcoin that look like a potential Lightning channel, and then trying to see if they are. And because the way you like route a payment is like through this channel ID, and that's just derived from like looking at that like transaction. But now they changed it so for these unannounced channels that channel ID is just a random number. It doesn't need to be tied to the transaction. So now it'd take them like a billion years to be able to guess the correct channel ID to try to route the payment. So it's not really doable anymore if like everyone upgrades these channels to these new types of unannounced channels.
Got it.
Yeah, it would. Everyone would have to close all of their unannounced channels right now to get a benefit of it. But I think LND, I think they just merged it. LDK had just merged it. I think a few other people are about to. So soon, everyone will support that. And then it's, someone had asked me the other day, okay, now if we can get this, like they're calling it short channel ID alias. It's also named zero conf channels. It's just the same. There's like two features, that are binded together. Someone asked me like, oh, if we get that, then would you say like private channels are now private again? Like, and I haven't thought too deeply at that. It's at least more private, and I think no one can guess what UTXO you're opening with. So it's like, yeah, it's a little bit more private. You still leak it out. You still leak out that there's some channels there whenever you open it, but they won't be able to see what your UTXO is. So like I'm only your channel partner sees that, of course, and they have to see that. So like in theory, they could tell the whole world about this like private channel between you and the other person. So you're kind of trusting your channel partner not to be a bad actor.
And I know I keep dragging it, since I know I keep dragging it. Go ahead.
Sorry. This is where like coinjoins come really powerful, because if you just like open that channel to that peer, like they could just like tweet it out like, oh, Ben Carman just opened a private channel to me with this transaction, and now I'm screwed. But I could, if I used coinjoin in that either that channel open or previously before I opened that channel, now he won't know my actual like previous addresses that I owned and like get my wallet cluster from that. So it could like help your privacy as well, where instead of like just being like, here's like you have like a 10 Bitcoin UTXO and open a channel with it. Now everyone, you can like tweet it out and be like, Ben Carman knows 10 Bitcoin. Whereas like CoinJoin, he can't see like what my previous history is, and you have better privacy there.
Yeah, and I just wanted to take a step back and like reiterate for the people that are listening. I'm assuming everybody already knows this, but one of the main reasons these technologies are so important, you'll hear these inane counter statements thrown out like, well, if you aren't doing anything bad, then you don't have anything to hide. But the reality is when it is possible for people to collect this type of information on how money is being used, people will collect it. And then even if those people are, good actors currently, that information is very, very likely to eventually, at some point in the future, get hacked or leaked or collected by, as I said, other parties that shouldn't have access to it. And then when people become, for whatever reason, undesirables or a specific type of financial transaction, which is like a human right, and everybody should be able to transact freely, when those become considered bad things for political reasons, if that data is available, those people will be sanctioned. And it is incredibly naive to think that this doesn't affect us in the United States because we live in, the best country in the world, which is something that, is up for grabs. We're certainly currently the one of the, if not the world superpower. We have the world reserve currency, but we may not exist in that world for much longer.
Yep, and on that note, like laws change. Things that you've done that is legal today could be illegal tomorrow. Cancel culture is a thing. I mean, even just like looking back at like all the shit we would laugh at in the 2000s, and now comedians are like getting in trouble for a tweet they made in 2005. Like this, it's all like bullshit. Cancel culture. It's all bullshit. Like just like you think you don't need some of this privacy until you actually do. And then at that point, it's too late.
You're muted, P. So I'll take that opportunity to just also, paint that picture. Everything P described happened in Canada, where everyone a year ago to this date felt the way a lot of us in America feel. So that's my contribution. Back to you, P.
No, I was just going to say, like, where should we go in this conversation from here? There's a number of other things that I want to dive into. I want to talk about PLN and the work that you're doing there, Tony. As I said, I'd love to talk a little bit about your privacy research grant. Should we start with PLN and then transition over to the privacy research grant, or go the other way around?
Yeah, we can do that. One of the things, it was a hackathon in Austin about a month or two ago that me and Paul Miller started working on a Lightning wallet we called PLN. We're going to change the name. We'll save the grand name change for like the release day. But we'll be changing the name, but it's essentially like a Lightning wallet that focuses on the privacy aspect. So like Lightning does have a lot of good privacy features like kind of built into it, but it all depends on how people use it. So if no one's actually utilizing all these privacy features, or there's these foot guns that kind of get in the way that like, and I wrote about it in that article I mentioned earlier, but like it's like a 30-minute read. And then you read it and you're like, holy shit, like how do I actually do all the things that this article suggests? And like I don't even do that shit. Like it's just too hard to practically and reasonably implement utilize Lightning in the most private way without having like holes in it. So this wallet's specifically designed to just implement all the privacy features. Like, you don't have to think about it. Our funny tagline that will change is just don't worry about it. But it's all going to be open source, all going to be out there. But we're kind of utilizing the most privacy features, and then we're even going to develop like what we're calling like the threat modeling API, basically like a warning of like, okay, if you try to do something and it's not, you're going to leak some privacy, then it like warns you, okay, hey, here are the trade-offs of doing this specific thing. Like, you can go ahead, but here's where, like, do you trust this other person? Like, here's where your privacy could be leaked in the general. And one of the things the wallet does not do for privacy reasons right now is receive, because receiving on Lightning is not private at all. You leak out the node that you're using, and then from there you leak out the UTXOs that are involved in it, and et cetera, et cetera. Until we actually get route blinding, receiving on Lightning is not going to be very private. Sending is a lot more private. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. So in general, like, this wallet and even when we get route blinding, it's going to be up to like wallet implementations and everyone to actually use that as the default method, right? Like, we want privacy to be the default method, and we don't want people to, so often go outside of that. We're trying to create this like fence that protects the user, but while still giving the options to educate the user and leave those fences if they wanted to. So even when we get route blind and other things, like, it'll depend on people's specific wallets implementing it, doing it the right way, and things like that. So like, this wallet has kind of been built from the ground up to just make sure that your privacy is always like the default option. I think you're muted again.
Oh my God. All right. I think it's so important because when we talk about, building these tools, one of the things in Bitcoin that has historically been a challenge is the user experience has been difficult for novice users to really, or people that are new to it, to really dive in and be able to understand what's going on. And so I'm really, really excited about this new, and it's been happening for a while, but this new generation of tools that really, really effectively, I don't even want to say like have breadcrumbs, but they find the balance between presenting users with just enough information that they're able to interact with them effectively, but then create these little breadcrumbs that empower them as they're using the tool normally to be able to learn more and more. I think Sparrow, we spoke with Craig Raw recently, and Sparrow, I think, does a really, really good job of this. You can use the tool, that's Sparrow Wallet, which is a desktop wallet, of course. You can use the tool without understanding too much about how Bitcoin works, but it has these really interesting, graphics and like tool tips and everything that slowly guide you. They present enough information that if you're curious, you'll kind of like figure out what's going on. And then they, at the same time, guide you towards improving your privacy and using Bitcoin more effectively. So super excited to see what you guys put out as you build more on top of it. What do you think, Ben? I mean, you are you're part of, or what is your actual title at the Bitcoin company, the second coolest named company in Bitcoin?
HR.
Piece of shit.
I don't know I don't even know what my actual title is. I mean, I'm our only back engineer, so lead backend engineer, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there we do lots of selling gift cards and stuff, and you try to like help people live on their Bitcoin, and preferably as private as possible. So like, right now we only accept Lightning. We are adding credit cards and stuff soon for the normies, but it's cool. We see like a lot of people like trying to use the product to like live on Bitcoin, or just even help their privacy, where we sell these like Visa cards for Bitcoin. So we get a lot of people like, either just like using that to like, unbank themselves in different parts of the world. Like, we have a lot of Brazilian users I know that they'll use that and just like, go shopping instead of doxing themselves with their credit card every time, or just, letting themselves spend their Bitcoin. As well in the US, like, I don't want to, if I'm gonna like, go to a taco shop near me, I can swipe my credit card, and now my bank sees that I shop there. Now they know my location by that. And then that taco shop will now know my name and stuff like that, which is, not always the best. So I can, buy a Visa card and then swipe that. Now there's no information tied to me on that, so it helps a lot there.
Got it. And that is thebitcoincompany.com, correctly? Or correct, rather?
Yeah.
Got it. What are some of the largest, like the largest challenges that you guys have faced, or that you specifically, working on the back end have faced as you've built out that financial product? Oh, also, I just want to give you guys props. The Bitcoin Company won. There were 3 different categories for Pitch Day at Bitcoin 2022, and the Bitcoin Company won one of them. And the trophy that you guys got was about like 7 feet tall. It was fucking enormous, and you looked amazing and hilarious hanging out by it. So congrats.
Yeah, we have it in our apartment now. We need to build it back again, but it's deconstructed in here. We have to take it on the plane. But yeah. But yeah, the hardest part probably with the company has actually just been like dealing with the legal, regulatory, and like different partners. Like early on, we got deplatformed by like an email like marketing provider because we had anything to do with crypto. So we had like panic to find a new one. And as well, just like so many times we're like, we wanted to sell like TJ Maxx gift cards and they denied us because we're something to do with crypto, or just other brands just like, oh, we don't do that. But otherwise it's just like dealing with like regulatory stuff too, where our compliance officer is always mad at us like, oh, you need to like, what if you sell a gift card to the Vladimir Putin? It's like, well, I mean, personally, I don't think that's bad, but SDN list and OFAC stuff exists, so we shouldn't do that. So there's lots of stuff like that that is annoying to deal with. But otherwise, it's kind of cool to like talk to these gift card companies where they're like, because normally when you sell a digital gift card, it's like extremely high risk, where if I want to do a credit card payment for a Target gift card, the you're gonna get tons of fraud where I get that gift card immediately, but I could just charge back the credit card payment. Now I just stole like $1,000 from that company. But with Bitcoin, you don't have to deal with that at all. You can instantly set a payment with Lightning, and there's no fraud risk. So like when we talk to these gift card companies a lot, we're like, oh, we'd like to sell new provider, get a bunch of new brands in. They're like, oh, how do you deal with fraud? How do you do like an online marketplace for this? We're like, oh, we just use Bitcoin, and they're like, oh, that's really smart, and it's cool to see like a lot of these people get a little bit of like an eye-opening moment there.
Yeah, I think you've touched on something which I think is an interesting pattern that's playing out in the Bitcoin development space, which is a lot of people, they start by asking like, hey, what can I do with Bitcoin, right? It's sort of like, I want to build on top of Bitcoin. I want to take something that exists already and then re-implement it, but involve Bitcoin. And the most successful products and services that are out there are using Bitcoin in a very different way. And I think I want to try to figure out how to encourage more people to do this, which is it's identifying things that Bitcoin and the Lightning Network solve better than anything else, and then building systems that can more effectively leverage those things in order to outcompete, the larger market. And I don't know, I just feel like we're seeing more and more. I don't know. What do you guys think?
There's something I really love about the service the Bitcoin Company and others have provided when it comes to gift cards. Like I don't 100% live on Bitcoin yet. Like surprise, like most people aren't on the 100% in, right? It's like usually at most like 99% and have a little bit of cash. But the thing I love the most about using the Bitcoin Company is just so I can buy like this anonymously, buy a gift card and use that, like a Visa gift card, and use that anywhere online. So that way you hear of these leaks and these hacks happening all the time with every company that exists, right? And every single time that happens is like, oh, your credit card information gets leaked, like this gets leaked, your email address gets leaked, all of this is just getting leaked left and right, your IP addresses, everything, right? So it's like one of the things that I love doing is just like using, especially Lightning too, since like senders have pretty good privacy. I can pay for a gift card, Visa gift card with Lightning. I have some like anonymous account when the Bitcoin Company had allowed anonymous accounts. I think they got rid of that so Vladimir Putin couldn't sign up with it. VladimirPutin@gmail.com or something. So I buy Visa International gift cards all the time, even as an American. I know I'm not supposed to with their app, but that's it's a great use. And I can pay for shit online anywhere in the world with a Visa card not tied to my name. I'm using email addresses that aren't tied to me. And just like spinning up a new one every time. So it's like it's a perfect use case for privacy because you can be compatible with the financial rails at the same time. it doesn't connect your source of funds. It doesn't connect your identity. It doesn't connect any of those things. And you're almost using them as a proxy to kind of like spend the money in the way that you want to spend your money without all the trade-offs of the privacy financial rails. I know I probably have said like 5 crimes there, but like that's why I love
These are all
those apps.
These are theoretical.
Yeah, in Minecraft. I do this stuff in Minecraft. It's
Exactly.
great.
Tony, this is a great time to let you know that actually we have from reliable sources that both Nancy Pelosi as well as Mitch McConnell watch us every day. They stop
Awesome.
what
They
they're
can go
doing.
fuck themselves.
Exactly. So what else? What have you guys been spending a lot of time thinking about when you guys are hanging out together? What are Bitcoin related topics, especially specifically, of course, related to the Lightning Network, that have got either of you excited right now?
And me and Tony have been doing this like Lightning privacy research grant for a few months now. I'm not sure how long, but it's been a ton of fun. Just like kind of like we've been like we do like a weekly call, and then we like a lot of times we'll bring in a guest and be like, oh, T-Bass come teach us about blinded paths, or we had Rusty Russell come and talk to us about Bolt 12 and other stuff, or we talked about trampoline routing, or we had like Dustin talk about splicing, just kind of get a bunch of like ideas flowing. And it's been a lot of fun. Like we're now working on like trying to write a whole set of like articles about everything we've learned and like kind of call to action to people as well. But I think that's kind of like what we probably spend most of our free time doing, or at least personally me. And I think that's a ton of fun. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm excited to share it all. Like once we have the huge like writings of everything.
Can you tell us more about that grant? Like, what is it? Where did it come from? How did you guys get it?
Yeah, so the grant is done by Wasabi as well as it was like another nonprofit partnered with them as well. And basically like Wasabi was like, their theory is like, on-chain privacy can be solved through their wallet, but Lightning privacy is still something to work on. So we should, try to fund development to fix that. So, because in Bitcoin, we kind of theorize that Lightning will be like the future of payments and the scalability solution for Bitcoin. So if we're going to use Lightning, we need to like make it private as possible. So we've been just kind of iterating ideas and trying to make it better. And a lot of the ideas are like things we've pulled in just from the community that are already known, but some ideas we've been talking about are like less discussed things or just ways to like merge things that we don't think have been thought of before. Things like something that like Tony came up with is like, oh, what if we had like every channel on the Lightning Network always in a coin join through splicing and stuff like that. So we could like, always be moving this channel around so that you can't even find it, from a bad actor and stuff.
You're going to have to define the term splicing.
So splicing is like pretty cool. So like today with the Lightning channel, you have it open with like, say I have a Lightning channel open to UP and we have like 1 Bitcoin in it, but I want to close
that is
it.
a
And
girthy fucking Lightning channel.
Girthy boy. But I know this is too much girth for you. I want to make it half a channel, go easy on you. So, or half a Bitcoin. So normally what you'd have to do is just close the entire channel and then open a new one. And that takes 2 on-chain transactions, and that channel is now offline for like that time period of while that transaction is confirming. So a splice basically just lets you, in one transaction, just kind of like change that Lightning channel. So we can like change it to be half a Bitcoin. We can balance it in the way we want. And, we're able to just basically just redefine the channel terms while keeping it online only in a single transaction. And you can do this with many channels. Like you could just have like one channel that we're changing, or we could have 100 channels that not just us, but anyone on the Lightning Network is changing. So we could combine all these things into like make it a more private thing. And it's really cool because it really like splicing on its own is very powerful, just like without any privacy aspects, just letting you renegotiate these channel sizes, so you don't need to like rebalance, or a lot of times people use things like loop in or out to like rebalance and you pay all these routing fees. Instead, you could just pay a single on-chain transaction fee and just fund it with an input and be able to change the balance of these channels. Versus splicing, we just do this and it makes it much cleaner. I know only C Lightning or Core Lightning is working on it right now, but it would be awesome to see if it does come to like the full dream where we could get the coin joins and implemented and everything too with it.
Yeah, because imagine the aspect of like Lightning what's the current numbers? Like I don't know. There's like hundreds of millions of dollars locked up in Lightning channels, right? And they're all being used to route on Lightning. But imagine if at the same time they're providing to liquidity for CoinJoin solutions. So you could be like collecting routing fees at the same time contributing to the CoinJoin anon set at the same time. So like I think it's like really powerful. There's still a lot of like things to figure out and actually like how would this be implemented. Like we don't even have splicing yet. Like all these like answered questions, but just in theory, like imagine that you have these unannounced channels and you're even like you hide them behind a public channel and then you're still even routing and coin joining and maybe even collecting coin join fees on top of it too. So I think there's something there that's pretty powerful because like Lightning as a network, like I said, there's some privacy gains too. So like what if we combine the two, like coin joining and private and Lightning privacy at the same time? I think that's pretty powerful.
Got it. So shifting slightly, have either of you read this article that came out a couple days ago? It's mass exit attacks in the Lightning Network. It was published by, let's see, University of Illinois.
No, I must have missed that one.
Yeah,
all right.
same.
I won't dive into it. Then I was gonna get your.
Well, yeah, no. If you read anything on it, you bring it up. We probably know some things on it.
Yeah, I mean, so they talk about. They said we study the susceptibility of the Lightning Network to mass exit attacks in the presence of small coalition of adversarial nodes. It's a scenario where an adversary forces a large set of honest protocol participants to interact with, the layer 1 blockchain. We focus on two types of attacks. The first is a zombie attack, and then the second is a double spend attack. And they kind of go through, and there's I think that their conclusion is that they say under historically plausible congestion conditions, a very small coalition, for example, a coalition of just 30 nodes could lock funds of 31% of the channels for about 2 months via a zombie attack, and could potentially steal more than 750 BTC via a mass double spend attack if the Watchtower algorithm did not make use of sophisticated strategies. And as I was reading through it, it just seemed like there were a ton of assumptions that were being made.
Yeah, this sounds similar to like the flood and loot attack kind of paper, where basically like if you like mempool is full and you mass close a ton of channels, now people need to broadcast the correct state so they can get their money back. And if the attacker just broadcasts like the invalid state where they get all the money, then you could be screwed. But this is like it does take a lot of assumptions. Like the mempool needs to be completely full for that 2-week window that you can't get your transaction in. And you can't, and then also assuming you can't bump the fee of your closing transaction and all this stuff. So, it's pretty, it's a lot of assumptions, like you said. It's pretty, and today like mempool is pretty empty, so it's not totally doable. But if it was like a disaster scenario, or like like when China banned mining and the mempool was like 200 sats per byte, maybe it's like something this is feasible, but it's going to take a pretty sophisticated actor to try to do that.
Yeah, but even, even if they like actually go through and like close enough channels to make sure that they do flood the mempool, actually, like it is, everyone could be bumping up their transaction until they can't bump up anymore, but everyone will be racing to bump up their transaction because anchor channels are supposed to like help solve the unpredictable fee aspect of it, so you can bump up your channel close. But if everyone's doing it, then not everyone's going to be able to get in. That's a really interesting paper. I gotta read it to understand it more, but I believe it.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you guys.
This thing too, it has like humongous risks. Like if they do it and fail, they lose all the money they put up in those channels. Because if I'm able to broadcast that correct state, I take back all the money from their side of the channel. So they lose all of their money if they do this. So it's extremely risky thing to try to do.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite term in the Lightning, flood and loot sounds like a badass attack. It's like the name of some kind of like it's a great band
James
name.
Bond movie.
Yeah, flood and loot, the flood and loot attack, and then also when using Watchtower as the justice transaction, an incredibly badass sounding thing. And just for everyone listening, one of the I don't know what to say, the sort of mitigation strategies that we can use in the Lightning Network is you have another node that basically is watching the channel state for your nodes. And basically, if your node goes down for any reason and someone tries to cheat you by publishing a false channel state, then normally what would happen is your node, when it's online, it would basically publish the true channel state, and then the person who's trying to cheat you would lose their funds. But if for some reason your node is offline and you have a watchtower watching it, then the watchtower can publish the justice transaction. And so if anybody tries to cheat you, there's this really strong incentive to not do that, because if they try and they fail, or if the person has a watchtower, then, or rather they have a watchtower and they fail, they then lose all their funds to what I think I was referencing a second ago, or Tony.
Yep. And there's this kind of joke that I like to say is, I like to say, "Oh yeah, watchtower." No, I don't. I don't have a watchtower. So, oh man, my node's down. Oh man, well, it would really suck if someone were to try to attack me right now, right? Like, no one knows if I actually have a watchtower or not. So, like I say, I don't have a watchtower, and if everyone's like, "Oh, let me go steal Tony's funds. His node is down." I'm like, "Oh, joke's on you, actually." And that mechanism, the justice transaction, that's like kind of also called like LN penalty, like the mechanism that Lightning operates on. So like if I say if, because who knows when this is actually going to happen, but we're supposed to be getting L2 at some point in our lives, right? ELTOO, and like that actually removes the LN penalty mechanism, the justice transaction. I think there's I don't know if they call it the justice transaction or not anymore. There's still this transaction where you can get the funds back, but it's not justice in the terms of like you take all the bad actors' funds. So there could be a mechanism or like this opportunity almost for bad actors under L2 to just go ahead and try to like scam people, and it's not actually going to hurt them in any way. Like worst case scenario, they paid channel closing fees, and like how much are you willing to spend to attempt to steal someone else's funds? So in the current mechanism, you actually have to risk all the funds that you may be gaining, so it's like 100% loss on your end. But if it's just like a worst case scenario 0.1% loss, how much are you willing to spend to scam?
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't realize that about L2. I think you're right, by the way. I don't think it's called the justice transaction anymore, but I will always refer to it as the justice transaction. And one of the things that I really like about, I rail about this a lot on the show, but one of the things that is so compelling to me about Bitcoin is the incentive structures that are in place. Famed Crypto Keeper and necromancer Charlie Munger is famous for saying, you show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. And in Bitcoin, in layer one Bitcoin, the incentive structures that are in place are such that, the thing that is best for an individual also supports the larger network, overall. And the Lightning Network to me is like a microcosm of that. It's like the same kind of things that are happening, but sped up almost. And, I was one of the people that got together and started PlebNet. And one of the things that we found, or that I personally found, is, it was like, I was talking about this with the other Ben recently, but it's almost like playing a real-time strategy game, right? You're basically, if you choose to be a crazy person and run your own Lightning node, which is like, everybody can just use a Lightning network right now by going and downloading a wallet that supports the Lightning network and can be sending and receiving transactions almost instantly for very low fees. So you can do that today. You don't have to understand any of the stuff we're talking about. You can just, take advantage of it and get access to the benefits. Then there's like, merchants who want to be accepting Lightning payments, and they want to be able to do that in a way where they don't want to use a third-party app like Breeze. They want to basically run a node so that they can receive payments. And then at the other, the extreme end, there's people who are interested in running their own Lightning node so that they can learn about how it works and potentially earn fees by being a routing node. So the way the Lightning Network works is as you as your node is positioned within the Lightning Network effectively, people will route through you, and every time they do, you earn a base fee, and then you also earn a fee based on the amount of sats, the total amount that flows through your node, for each transaction. And so it becomes this like, real-time strategy game like StarCraft almost, where you're like trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to set my channel fees here to incentivize people to route in this direction, and then I'm going to set it lower over here in order to, incentivize it to route in this direction. And, you were just mentioning, Tony, the idea of being like, oh no, my node is down. If only someone would be kind enough, and then basically they try to attack you, and then you steal all the funds back. And yeah, it's incredibly engaging.
There's Lisa has talked about it before, Nifty and I, about this idea that you could kind of almost recreate some of that. What is it called? The MEX, MEV.
Minor extracted value.
Yeah, minor extracted value stuff. You can almost kind of like recreate that on Lightning in a way. Like there's some scenarios there where, when miners start getting into the game of Lightning, it's almost like the same. I don't know if it's state chains or like space chains or like one of them, but like the idea of like introducing different incentives on that are operate on different layers than Bitcoin. How do those incentives line up, right? So like if for maybe this flood and loot attack, or maybe, there could be some attacks that like if the miner was also a Lightning node, those change the incentives too. They may actually participate in other attacks if they were running their mining operation as well. So like there's this idea of like me and you as users with a channel together, we may do certain things and may not do other things, right? But like when you introduce a miner that's running a Lightning node, that's a whole different story. And I think we'll eventually start seeing that as well. And yeah, I think she came out with an article on it. I forget where it was. It's probably on her Medium or something. But there's all kinds of incentives that could that we haven't even like thought of yet, or so, or it's just on the edge of even thinking about it. So yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, what do the incentives say? If the incentives say that a miner could be, a bad actor and this still works out, or is it like if enough miners were bad actors, like then does Lightning still operate? Even beyond like, there's the whole 51% attack. Like if we hit 51%, like, we're kind of all fucked, right? But even below that, is there other avenues where a miner could try to extract value by being a bad actor without like getting 51% of the network?
But I mean, even if they did have 51% of the network, they could only there's a limited attack that could be perpetrated against the Bitcoin network, right?
Basically, just double spends, right? But
yeah,
that could spill over into Lightning too.
That would be interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. Huh. So we talked about. So I think I asked this at the beginning, and forgive me if I already did, but what other technologies related to, we've been talking about the Lightning Network, what other things in the Bitcoin space, whether it's companies that are starting up or, new protocols that are being proposed that have got you guys really excited that we haven't talked about so far in this conversation? Ben, you want to go first since you've been quiet for a while?
Yeah, I think Fedimint's probably one of the biggest things that's like happening now in the space. It's pretty cool. It's like using this thing called a Charman eCash server. Is basically like the kind of the properties of it. It's perfect privacy but fully custodial, and it's funny because it's something that was invented like 30 years before Bitcoin was, and like initially like some banks used it, but it got like either like shut down or just failed, and then it was just kind of been like, oh, this is a cool idea but failed in the fiat world. Now people are trying again on Bitcoin because now they can make these Fedimints like interoperable between each other, where you can have like multiple banks that talk to each other through Bitcoin, and it's all Bitcoin denominated, but you still can have this perfect privacy on top of it. So I think it's going to be like a really cool solution to potentially like having another way to do privacy on Bitcoin. It will be custodial, but I think like the idea is it's a Fedimint, so it's a federation running it. So it's a lot harder. You can't just have like one person rug pull. You need to be a collection of people, and if you make it sufficiently large, it should be safe enough for amounts to keep on there for privacy.
Love it.
Yeah,
Tony,
I
what about
agree.
you?
Yeah, Fedimint, man. It's from a privacy standpoint. I think it's really exciting. I mean, yeah, there is a custodial aspect, right? But I think, I mean, even myself, like I'm not going to be using it to because I'm not capable of custody, right? Like I want to use it so that the spending money that I have and the daily, spending and receiving that I may do on a mobile wallet, like I want that to be as private as possible. And um, even with Lightning, even with PLN, just how I described it earlier, like, there's still Lightning channels. There's still like being online. There's still like liquidity issues, receiving. You need inbound liquidity to receive on Lightning, so you need channels open, and then you need all these other things involved. Like that's not practical from like an everyday standpoint in a lot of ways, and for everyone, right? So if I want just like a Lightning wallet that works really well, and Fedimint actually works with it, integrates with Lightning incredibly well. You can like bounce between federations, but just going through Lightning. All kinds of amazing things you can do with just their Lightning integrations. Like they basically have Lightning gateways that are attached to the federation, so that a Lightning gateway will honor the tokens from the federation that it's attached to, and through that mechanism, you can basically receive on Lightning atomically. So the Lightning Gateway will accept the funds on your behalf, and you'll receive tokens for them, these Fedimint tokens. And the Lightning Gateway can't just like run off with your funds. Sure, like the Federation, if it was all a majority bad actor, you may lose some funds there. I mean, you're trusting the Federation, but like to me, I'm fine with like trusting the Federation with like a month's, even like a month's worth of spending money, whatever I'm talking about, like a few $1,000s worth of spending money at a time, and to be able to receive the privacy guarantees that Fedimint provides. So like to me, that's an acceptable risk. And you're not just trusting them with your privacy too. Like you can go to Coinbase, and Matt Odell likes to talk about how like some people will just pay him through Cash App, and then that way Matt doesn't see their Bitcoin wallets, right? He just sees that it's coming from Cash App, so he can't see. He doesn't work at Cash App. He doesn't have Cash App's data, so he can't see. The users hiding amongst is trusting Cash App with their privacy. And that way no one can like analyze their data and their transactions. But with Fedimint, you're not just trusting Fedimint with your privacy. Like they literally don't know what your transactions are, what your Bitcoin are. They gave you a token at some point that's blinded. So when you go to spend it later, they have no idea if that's still you or not. Like
Yep.
the most they can do, and you can do Fedimint in all kinds of different ways, but like even in the scenario where it's a KYC based federation, which I'm sure will exist, and there will be non KYC ones and KYC free ones, and stuff like that. Even if you're just like a single identity at a federation and you're receiving these these blinded tokens, the worst they can do is just see how much tokens you have ever received, but not necessarily. They won't know how much you currently have. They won't know when you've ever spent it, where you spent it to. So there's a lot of beautiful privacy benefits to using Fedimint, and it's not just trusting them with your privacy, it's trusting them with custody, but it's got some really great privacy guarantees there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I think is so interesting, what you guys both touched on, but is that it allows you to rely on kind of existing real world trust structures. So this federation can be composed of people from these existing very strong social networks, like your the leaders in your local community or your church or your group of friends, where it becomes way more effective than or the trust structures that you are relying on are potentially more reliable than what a lot of people use right now, which is you're just trusting a third party entity like your bank. There's not even a person who is like that you're trusting. It's just this entity, which is a much higher risk. And I think you mentioned Odell. One of the things that is so compelling to me about Fedimint is people will use the simplest thing that they can, and so that meets their needs basically. And so right now, a lot of people continue to use exchanges and systems like that because it is the easiest thing, right? It's easy to send somebody Cash App payments, send Bitcoin via Cash App and just use that. But Fedimint aims to, and I think will really effectively kind of bridge that gap. So it's not as sovereign as full self custody, but it does a really good job of finding the balance between trust and also ease of use, and kind of somewhere in the middle. And I think it's going to be to your guys' point, a really important aspect of hyper Bitcoinization as we go forward.
Yep, and beyond just the privacy benefits, like it is also trying to solve the grandma use case where like even grandma can start receiving on Bitcoin.
Exactly. All right, so what do you guys think is the largest? I'm going to say the largest threat to Bitcoin or Lightning, but I want to specifically focus it on things that people are not really talking about enough. Like, what do you guys think is the largest attack vector, whether cultural, technological, that people are sleeping on right now?
I think I'm sometimes worried about Lightning. There's again, going back to Matt and Citadel Dispatch, I've been on a few times. If your listeners out there haven't heard of Citadel Dispatch, definitely subscribe. Episode 69 was a great one. I was on it. But it's I love Lightning so much, and it's where I spend a lot of time on it, and it's a lot of fun. But it could turn into something that you talk about incentives, you talk about all these probing vulnerabilities and channel we even talked about some of the many vulnerabilities to Lightning and some of the holes. It's a little bit of a concern sometimes. Like, could it fail? Like, I mean, I think like at the end of the day, even if I just open a channel with Ben, and me and Ben are like we're gambling a lot and we're just playing casino games at home, and we can go through each other, and that's fine, right? But when you start introducing the network aspect of it, when you start introducing like DDoS attacks, you start introducing the routing mechanism. Bolt 12 is going to introduce a lot of like possible spam vectors with just passing messages across the Lightning Network. Like, there's all these holes that I don't think there's great solutions for yet. I mean, like channel jamming is a thing as well that we've just like hand waved because like no one's actually going through and channel jamming people. But like you can do that today. You can actually go through and jam people's channels, but like no one's talking about it because no one's actually doing it. And so I don't know. It's I'm concerned that Matt. Oh yeah, the reason I brought up Matt, he keeps saying like Lightning is not operating in an adversarial environment, and like that's 100% true. Like, you don't see the Lightning Network being used in darknet markets. You don't see people getting attacked left and right with the current vulnerabilities that exist on Lightning. So if we want to progress forward, I think we have to like try to get ahead of these vulnerabilities, and that's another reason why I did the private channel probing stuff, is because like, hey, this is a vulnerability and people could be executing it. Let me just actually execute it and say, okay, do you guys like this or not? Like, let's try to fix it. And so I don't know, maybe the next thing I do, I just start going through channel jamming people and saying, do you like this or not? Like, let's actually try to fix this, because it's a vulnerability. If we want to progress Lightning even further, we need these attacks to happen, and we need to actually actively fix them and make sure that we don't introduce protocol vulnerabilities that cause it to get worse.
Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I do echo a lot of Tony's concerns about the Lightning. Like, it definitely is like, I like to say a lot, like Lightning's kind of a LARP right now. Like, it's awesome. It's very usable for what you can do, but it's very nascent and new. Like, I think it was in 2019 we had the bug where you could just open a channel and tell your counterparty it's 1,000 Bitcoin, and they would just trust that. They didn't actually check how much money you sent them. So you could just like steal tons of money. There's lots of issues like that, and lots of these things have been fixed, but it's still very new, and we have like all these implementations that try to be compatible. They lots of times accidentally just fall out of compatibility and stuff. So it is something that people are working on and trying to make better. on the Bitcoin side, I think like we're doing a very good job. I think like keeping it very like we rarely ever soft fork, and we never hard fork. Try to keep it like very conservative and like targeted on what we're doing, and it's been going very well. I still think on the actual like human side we could be improving, like things like like your personal security and like heart and key security is something that could be improved a lot. Like most people just use like a single sig, and if I knock on their door with a gun, I could probably steal most people's Bitcoin, and that's not very good. Things like multi-sig or covenants could help this a lot. That are things that multi-sig exists today, but isn't very easy to use, and lots of times people end up using things like Unchained, which is great, but it's KYC'd, and you have a trusted third party now inside of your multi-sig. And if we can make that easier, or something like covenants where we could make it so you literally can't spend your Bitcoin unless it goes to a separate wallet, or I have to wait X amount of years before I can spend my Bitcoin, and make it a lot better.
You both gave good answers, surprising no one. What else? I mean, we have 10 minutes left. I'm curious, what have we not talked about? What do you guys want to just like riff on together? What about that money that that Tony owes you, Ben, for that thing that we can't talk about live?
He owes me money. Yeah, he owes me lots of money. All of his Bitcoin.
Yeah, okay.
No, all joking aside, what have we not talked about today that that's worth diving into?
Meetups.
Ooh.
I think Bitcoin meetups are extremely important, and people need to focus on them more. And you guys are doing a fantastic job in Nashville. I think here in Austin we're doing a pretty good job as well. And I don't know, I think like more people need to like, I don't know, maybe like take ownership and like feel a sense of pride in your meetup. Like they're like, for one, they're fun, but like it's a fantastic network where like I mean personally I've made tons of friends through our Austin meetup, and going to other people's meetups. I've met lots of like really awesome Bitcoiners. It's also like an extremely good tool. Like you can find potential like jobs or hires. You can find people to buy and sell Bitcoin to, KYC free, all these things. So I think something very important. I love like what you guys are doing in Nashville with the Bitcoin Park. That is like amazing. And here in Austin we have the Commons, which is pretty great. And yeah, it's, I don't know, I think people more need to like find meetups or start one. Like here at the Bitcoin company, we have an intern right now, and he's going back to college in a couple of weeks, and he's like, oh, should I start a meetup at my college? I'm like, definitely. Like you need to like like there's like he's saying that, oh, everyone's a shitcoiner there. I'm like, then you definitely need to inform these people, help them out, as well as just like bring people in, show them like what cool things you can do with Bitcoin, show them all the awesome stuff that we're doing, and like just talk about it.
Yeah, the Bitcoin Park, what they're doing over there in Nashville is amazing. If you are in Nashville or thinking about coming, you should absolutely go find out when the next one is. There's one tomorrow. Exactly. It's going to be
I'm in town for that shit, so you better come. If you're like in the Nashville area and you don't show up, you suck.
You hate America and Christmas and Q specifically.
Mainly just the me part, but I got goodies.
Yeah. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, on that topic too, I mean, the meetup tomorrow is like all about, I know Rockstar's doing, it's all about like digital identity. That's kind of the theme for the week. There's like a little catch-22, right? And when you're talking about privacy, it's like the privacy paradox. It's like, here we are talking about privacy, yet we're just like all face doxed everywhere. On stage in Miami, like a Target, like we're all Target. We're like almost LARPing about privacy in some way. It's like we care so much about it, but we have to make trade-offs, right? And you can be like you can be an anon. That's not to say I don't have like many different anons all over the internet, right? But it's like there's still some sort of if you want to get like the most amount of work done and the most amount of networking and the most amount of reach, it's like being public is unfortunately like one of the I'm going to say easier paths to go down. You just become face docs. You use your name. You use something that people can relate to, people can trust, they can honor. But you don't always get that by being an anon. So like, if you're, I would always say like, if I would start from scratch, I would just show up to the Bitcoin meetup and just like under a completely different name, like a completely new like Twitter account. Like if you're just getting in, the sad thing is like it's preaching to the choir, right? If you go to like a Bitcoin meetup and you say, hey, here's why your identity, should be private. Here's all the things you can do. Well, you already showed up with your face under a name before like the meetup even started. So like there's a lot of paradoxes when it comes to privacy. I mean, it may seem like we're LARPing sometimes when we try to like say privacy is important, and yet here we are, all public, on stage in Miami, like in front of thousands of people, right? Like it's I don't know, it's like a necessary evil in a way. I don't know. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that.
I think I completely agree, right? In many ways, we are privacy LARPing, right? And I think I certainly went through this process when I kind of started engaging with people about Bitcoin publicly. I grew up in a household of kind of like, numismatists, gold bugs. And it was like the first rule of this asset is you never talk about this asset. And so that kind of transitioned with me over into Bitcoin. So, for years, I just never talked to anybody about it. And then, with COVID and everything, I just started losing my mind. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go on Clubhouse and just say whatever I want. And yeah, I mean, it definitely creates a risk. And for me, there was the aspect of I gained so much by interacting socially with other people that the benefits outweighed the costs. So I was learning so much. I was being challenged to think about Bitcoin in new ways that I just couldn't get by only interacting more passively and protecting my identity. But yeah, it's definitely a significant trade-off. And if you're just getting into Bitcoin, I agree. Everybody should be using a NIM. NIMs that sound like real names are better than ones that don't. Find an image. I think there should be a whole line of like full facial prosthetics that just, you can wear at all times, 24/7, when you're working with your family, with your kids, make sure your family doesn't even realize what your real face looks like. You got to just protect your identity at all times. 100%.
He just wants to normalize all the plastic surgery he's gone through, because if you guys didn't realize this, he is about, I believe, 183, 184 years old.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to tell people that, but since you did,
Sorry.
yes, it's true.
Yeah. He has truly the best privacy system of all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think an important distinction here as well, though, like there's like operational like privacy, like keeping your face not doxed and stuff, and there's also like financial privacy. Like me going on the show tells no one how much Bitcoin I own. Now people probably know I own Bitcoin, but I don't know, I lost it on a boating accident. But I could have 1 million Bitcoin, I could have $100 of Bitcoin, and no one knows. But if I fuck up my like on-chain privacy, people could find out that I have like 1 million Bitcoin, and obviously I don't want people to know how much Bitcoin I have. So there's like different like levels of doxing and what you're actually doxing, and kind of the whole point of privacy is like I try to be private, but like also like I invited people to my birthday party and stuff, and so it's something I don't just tweet out, today's my birthday, but also my friends know when my birthday is, because I selectively choose who can know information. So I think we all have decided that it's okay for someone to know what my face looks like, but I'm not going to say I own 1 million Bitcoin. I'm not going to say my birthday is today, or whatever. Like you can selectively choose different information to reveal to people.
I'm curious your thoughts then, and of course, happy birthday, Ben. In case anyone didn't know, it is Ben Carman's birthday.
It is
today.
actually his birthday.
It's
Yeah,
definitely my birthday.
What are your thoughts then on like the stack chain, when people are posting, and some people may not do the best at covering up their sort of tracks, and you're able to see that transaction ID, or you're able to see the time it happens, what exchange they're using. Like, thoughts on just the stack chain movement and how it feeds into privacy.
I think it's cool. Like I like the idea of just like everyone incrementing $1, and they're up to like a lot of money now. And yeah, it is something like if you like screenshot, like I bought 0.12345, like, the exact number of Bitcoin, and then you withdraw it, like more than likely you'll be able to find the transaction ID pretty easily. And then, if they later combine it with other coins or do something, you're gonna be able to like get their wallet cluster, which is, not good. So there is like trade-offs there, but luckily like some things, like I think like River and Swan have like ways to like share it, but they like blur out the number. Or if you just share like the US dollar amount, you might be a little safer. But yeah, it is something to be like warrant of, like you are doxing that you're like buying Bitcoin, and if you give an exact amount, people are gonna be able to find that pretty easily.
Same thing with like the LN Trust chain. It was a great movement, but it is like everyone's just posting invoices on Twitter and saying send send the trust chain my way. Like invoices reveal a lot about yourself. Like it leaks your node pub key, right? And then all the public channels are now associated. All the UTXOs making up those public channels are now associated with you. It's like imagine if you just tweeted out your XPub right now. Like that's pretty shit. So like we're all tweeting out Lightning invoices, and I think they can still kind of fit in a tweet. Sometimes they don't, but we're tweeting those out, and that's like linking to our nodes as well. So like, I'm not. While the Lightning Trust chain was like a great movement and got people playing with it, got a lot of interest. It is kind of not great to be tweeting out private information, or not even just private information, just associating information to you that is otherwise, somewhat anonymous or pseudonymous.
So, my friends, we're coming close to the end of our show today, and I want to give you both an opportunity to basically talk about how people can find you, promote the things that you're working on right now, and get everybody excited. So, Tony, do you want to start?
Yeah, right now I'm not really online anywhere. Sometimes I feel like I live under a rock. You can find me in Austin or Nashville. I won't be in Nashville this week, unfortunately, but great meetup going on there. Yeah, just find me in person at a Bitcoin meetup. Yeah, it's been awesome chatting with you guys.
Fantastic. And Ben, how can people get in touch with you? How can they find you? How can they?
I'm at Ben the Carman on basically everything, or find me at Austin Bit Devs. I'll be in Nashville this weekend, so don't kill me, but come hang out with me. And I don't know, yeah, come buy gift cards at the Bitcoin company. Use code LOVE and you get I think 100 sats or something. Yeah.
Good stuff. Did you see the movie posters that I made of your name in advance of this?
No.
Oh, I sent them to you over Twitter. I'll give me a sec. I'll pull them up because they're
okay. First off, I'm just saying now, if and when AI takes over our society, it is all P's fault. It is 100%. All P's fault. And secondly, awesome. Tony, if you don't come through tomorrow, I will take personal offense to that.
P, you tagged my scammer account.
Oops.
Oh, right. Well, he's going to take those images. Yes. Sorry, Q. That's why I'm not going tomorrow.
We need to get rid of that fucking scammer account.
I agree. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, those are awesome.
That's actually where you can find me. I own Ben the.
Okay, wait. Say it again. What is your actual Twitter handle, and what is the Twitter handle that everybody should report as a scammer?
Mine's Ben the Carman. No underscores, no nothing. The scammer is Ben the _Carman.
You can also get to Ben's Twitter account by typing in the bitcoincompany.gay. That also redirects to Ben the Carman.
Well, yeah.
All right, my friends.
Lightning.gay to see all hidden Lightning Network stuff as well.
Good stuff. Q, you want to tell the people what they need to know, and then we'll get ready to shift over to our next show.
I just want to remind everyone that you need to lock in your tickets to Bitcoin Amsterdam right now. Use promo code BMLive. You got to do it for the children. P and I are the children we're talking about. So please save us. Buy a ticket to Bitcoin Amsterdam. And of course, if you are tuning in because you went and listened to Pete Rizzo earlier, you have to go and buy the print mag from the Bitcoin Magazine store. Use promo code BMLive to get 10% off of that, or a whole subscription to the quarterly print mag. We'll be back.
Adios. Thanks so much, guys.